Alex Kidman taking a quick look at the Galaxy Z Fold 4 and Galaxy Z Flip 4, which Samsung has just announced at its Galaxy Unpacked event. Now, prior to that event, I had time for some brief, really super brief hands-on with both devices. Really more of a photo op than a full-on testing kind of thing, so don't expect benchmarks. I unfortunately couldn't take camera samples with me or test out the battery to speak of. That will come in due course. This was more a physical hands-on kind of thing. I should say that I've used the Fold 3 for quite some time now. The Flip 3 less so. I'm less of a Flip user, and that will colour some of my observations here, but I had to get enough time to get a feel for where these phones impressed me and some of the areas where I think Samsung might have done a little bit more. So let's get into it without delay. What did I like? Well, for the Fold 4, probably the standout feature for me was the taskbar. So this is a bar of your most recent apps that sits at the bottom of the unfolded screen, kind of like a Mac dock or what you get on Windows or on an iPad, that kind of thing. And it's a really, really smart inclusion. I'm not entirely sure if it's part of One UI or a part of Android 12L or a mix of both, and whether we'll see it on other devices, but it makes a lot of sense out of that style. I also like the fact that they have upgraded the cameras. So this has basically got the S22 Plus camera module bolted onto the back of it. It's a nice big jump up from the 3. Very, very necessary in my view for a phone of this price point. Now, while the design changes are not massive, you're really going to have to put them side by side and hold them, because they do weigh a little differently, to appreciate the differences between the Z Fold 4 and the Z Fold 3. The fact that the front cover display is of a wider aspect ratio makes a big difference. It makes it a much more usable phone folded up. And that's sort of the point. That's what Samsung wants to be getting towards. And I think this is a big, nice step in that direction. Samsung would not let me bounce it off walls, sadly, but it is Gorilla Glass Victus covered as well. So it should be able to survive the odd drop. I would still throw it in a case, but that's me. As for the Z Flip 4, the stuff that I liked there, well, less, and that's partially because Samsung has kind of tinkered less, but I will call out the fact that it's got a larger battery. I obviously couldn't entirely test that. It does feel nice in the hand as well. I'd forgotten how much of a nice feeling phone this is, folded or unfolded, and I appreciate the fact that it's running the same processor. And that means that it is technically a smaller, more powerful Android phone, and there's just not enough of those in the market. So plaudits to Samsung on that regard. It's also got a bunch of fun colours. I do like the Bora purple, and I like the fact that the bespoke colours, so that's where you pick out different colour plates and get them custom built, those bespoke models will be available for pre-order. You will basically, from what I've been told, be able to get those day one, albeit only through Samsung itself and only in the 256 gig size. So that's the stuff that I like. What did I not like? What didn't impress me so much? Well, look, for both phones, there's not a huge reason to upgrade. And look, that's one of those statements that generally makes sense. It generally doesn't make sense to upgrade after a year anyway, but this is really true, especially for the Fold. While that taskbar on the Fold 4 is nice, I wouldn't be spending the extra money to jump over the Fold 3 if I had one. I'm also a little bit bummed out on the camera front. So for the Flip 4, it's very obvious. It's still only got 2 cameras, wide and ultra wide. And that's just not much for a phone that costs this much. If you want better cameras at this money, yeah, you absolutely can have them. For the Fold 4, it's a little bit more complicated because while the S22 Plus has a pretty capable camera, it's not Samsung's best camera. And this is Samsung's most expensive phone. I really don't quite get why the Z Fold 4 doesn't have the best camera module, and that's the one on the S22 Ultra, on its back. Why it doesn't actually offer those absolute premium features. Yes, I guess it would probably be even more expensive, but we're already talking a pricey phone. Let's punch it up there. Let's go for gold, people. And then we come to price, and this one's a little contentious because, yes, there are chip shortages. Yes, there's a lot of inflation right now. Yes, shipping is a problem, but prior generations of foldables have dropped the price, and this has been an admirable thing because I think it makes foldables more affordable for everyone. And that's just not the story this time around. Now, to Samsung Australia's credit, here locally, the Flip 4 and Fold 4 basically cost the same as their predecessors did at launch. I do like the pre-order bonus where basically you get double the memory for that model if you pre-order from the 11th of August through to its 2nd of September unveiling. I think that's pretty neat because it basically means, you can get the 1 terabyte version of this phone for the 512 gig price. That's a $300 saving, not to be sneezed at. But the fact remains that they're still not cheaper phones, and especially for the Flip 4, I think that's got a big impact because that's obviously the much more mass market phone out there. The fact that they weren't able to bring the price down while keeping everything else so similar, yeah, I think that is going to be a big problem for them. I think that is going to be a problem in adoption. However, the question you've really got to ask is, has Samsung earned that right? Are they in the position where, because basically they do control this market, they are the innovators in this space? Yes, you've got the likes of Motorola and Huawei, and to a lesser extent Oppo, kind of talking up phones, but they really don't sell them or sell too many of them. I mean, the Razr is out there somewhere, and Huawei did have a little bit of a try with the Mate XS, but I can't really recommend that phone because it's Android, but Android without Google, whereas Samsung has been there really delivering phones, and to an extent, I think they maybe have earned the right to have a phone that is just a spec, that is just a little bit better than the one that preceded it. Certainly not a phone that I think updaters should look at if you've already got last year's model, and the pricing does make it a little tricky to get on board given the current constrained financial times we live in. But there's a lot of promise here. I'm still very keen on foldables as a category. Anyway, those are my early thoughts. I am waiting to get review models in for these, really keenly waiting, and I'll be able to give you a much more detailed rundown once that happens. But if you've got any questions or any thoughts or comments you want to make, hit me up below. As always, thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe.